Welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast, where trauma survivors become healthy thrivers. Each month, we'll feature a theme in the trauma recovery and empowerment field. To promote your recovery, healing, and learning how to build dreams, here's your host, Karen Robinson, transformational coach and therapist.
Hi, and welcome to the Heal, Thrive, Dream podcast. My guest is Amy Vincze. Amy has been a dedicated professional in the health and wellness industry for over 20 years. She's a certified EFT tapping coach for over 17 of those years. She brings a wealth of expertise to her work. With EFT tapping, Amy has witnessed profound transformations, both in her own life and the lives of her clients. She has even used tapping to heal herself from painful chronic medical conditions. As the founder of Soar with Tapping app, Amy is on a mission to make the life-changing benefits of tapping accessible to people everywhere. She firmly believes that tapping is one of the most powerful and transformative healing tools available today. I love that. Okay, Amy, thank you for being on my show.
Thank you for having me, Karen. I'm honored to be here.
I loved how open you were about sharing how it was healing for you, because that's so much credibility there already. Can you share a little bit with us, as my audience is complex trauma survivors? Can you share a little bit of what your journey has been like personally with complex trauma?
Absolutely. So my dad was an alcoholic. He also left when I was 4 years old. And like most kids, they assume that everything that happens in their environment is their fault. So I really took the burden of that on and thought that there was something wrong with me. And that's why my dad left. So that was a question that I continued to ask myself throughout my life, is what's wrong with me? And you know how when you ask the wrong question, you will get answers to those questions. If you say, look for the color brown in the world, and you will find it in a million different places.
That's right.
And so I became had a really fierce inner critic for many years. I was a perfectionist and a people pleaser, and I did everything in my power to try and get people to like me because I thought that I had done something wrong and that I needed to fix myself. Whatever I was wrong, and I needed to do something different. So I really turned myself inside out and was like a chameleon of sorts, because I would turn myself into whatever I thought people needed me to be in a moment. And as you can imagine, there came a real crisis point with that, because I had no idea who I was. And like there was zero substance to who I was either, because I wouldn't even ask myself the question, what do I like? It was always, what do other people like? So in my opinion, that led to a cancer diagnosis, breast cancer, when I was in my early 30s, even with no history of breast cancer in my family. I just think that all of those negative thoughts, even when we have a negative thought, a stressful thought, it creates cortisol in our body, and those stress hormones build up over time. Just when you have a happy thought, it releases happy hormones. And I feel like that built up over time and created breast cancer for me. So it was during when I was going through treatments for that I found Tony Robbins, and it started me on my kind of healing journey. I went through his whole program, but then I was crewing an event and I met Nick Ortner, who is the founder of the Tapping Solution. And he called me like a month later and it was like, I found this thing. I'm so excited about it. I want to try it with you. And so we had one session, and then he was off and running doing his thing, but it had a real impact on me, obviously. I recognized it as a really powerful tool and got certified really soon thereafter. But I had intermittent success with it over the years. And I come to understand that it was because I was using tapping on the symptoms of what I was experiencing instead of going back and using it on the trauma itself and the fears that resulted from that trauma and the limiting beliefs that resulted from that trauma. I was focusing on things like jealousy or procrastination, or even I've got tendency for food addiction. And so I was using it just on cravings, all the symptoms, but not really using it on the root cause. But there came a time, again, another crisis point in my life, just about 7 years ago, when it felt like everything in my life was in deconstruction mode. My body was in a lot of pain and I was about to get fired from my job. I was having panic attacks every day. And I started just intuitively tapping on my biggest fears. And I'm not just talking about like fear of spiders or fear of heights. I went deep and I was working
Yeah.
on big foundational fears with tapping. And I probably was only tapping like a half an hour a day for maybe 2 weeks. And it had such a transformational impact on me. And that was when I realized the full potential of this tool and really how to harness it in a way that was going to make the biggest impact for people. And then, of course, I was like, quit my job. I'm like, I have to bring this tool to people. I have to make them understand how powerful it is and what it can do in such a short period of time. 2 weeks. I went from feeling like my life was over to starting my own business, which I never would have had the courage to do beforehand. Like I was getting rid of fears that I didn't even realize it was possible. I just didn't think that I could be one of those people that started my own business or was able to talk in front of other people about it. It really transformed me in a way that it was so profound. And I became really passionate about bringing it to the masses.
Oh, that's quite the story.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. And did you share your discovery of how it's helping with deeper underlying wounds with Nick or anybody from his team? Do they know how far you've come with using the tool is my question. Yeah.
I haven't stayed in contact with Nick. No, so he might be aware of the fact that I have an app now as well.
Mhm.
I don't know. I don't know. I haven't had a conversation with him about it.
Yeah.
It really just it was my experience that at the time that I was looking at what was out there as far as apps go, and I didn't find what he was doing to really harness the full potential of it. In my opinion, it wasn't going deep enough.
Yeah.
What
That's my
what he
experience exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What he has is a really great way as a great introduction for people to the world of EFT tapping, and it will often put a band-aid over something, which is really helpful in a moment. Sometimes you need a band-aid to get throughout your day. But if
Right.
you want to heal those wounds, the source, so that you don't ever need a band-aid again, then there's
Yeah.
a different way to go about it. And that's what I thought about. That's how I approached creating my own app, was really giving people the tools and the understanding for how to use it in order to get to those things. There's still like 160 different tapping scripts there, but there's also videos that show you how to work through things like depression or anxiety or procrastination and an addiction. It really focuses on going to the root cause and working forward from there, because that's where you're going to have the fastest results, get the most bang for your buck, and biggest changes in the shortest period of time.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And the app, how do people find it on all the devices?
Yeah, you can go to, either the Google or Apple Play stores and search for Soar with tapping, and yeah, they can find it that way. And you can go to my website, soarwithtapping.com. And for your listeners, you can go to soarwithtapping.com/podcast dash special. And there is a code there they can input on the app to get 50% off their first annual subscription.
Okay. And at
Yeah.
this point, do you have a lifetime deal? I'm a big fan of those. I'm just saying.
Oh, I haven't entertained that idea yet, but I will now that you said something. Thank you.
Yeah. Because some of us love just to pay something once and then it's done. I
I
purchased a
totally.
hypnotherapy. That is a bigger expense up front, but then I don't have to worry about the bills. It's something I can let go of. But you don't have
Yeah.
to do it for me.
No, I love that idea though. I'm sure you're not the only one that feels the same, that feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I used to have the other tapping app for years, and I was like, okay, I think I got all I can get from this, right? Yeah. I
Mhm.
love the idea that you're going deeper. That really super resonates me. And I really hope it's resonating with our listeners because to really truly heal deep wounds, you gotta dig at them a bit. Yes, it's unpleasant, or it can be unpleasant, but
Yeah.
in order to really heal it well, clean it, soothe it, sew it up well, you've got to really look at what's there. Pretending it doesn't exist is as not helpful. And yes, band-aids if you're busy or fighting a war, yeah, we could throw a band-aid on you. But when you can create the time and space, that deeper healing is huge. Yeah, I'm glad you discovered how helpful that was.
I think the biggest epiphany that I had during that process too was just making the connection between my behavior and the fact that it came from that trauma. Like up until that point, because it wasn't like big T trauma, like me being really physically or sexually abused as a child or something along those lines, I assumed that I didn't have trauma, that these were just character defects of mine. And
Wow.
then when I was doing that tapping and thinking, okay, so I've got this behavior. What is it that I'm actually afraid of that is making that behavior happen? And then I was doing the detective work to figure out what is the root cause of this. And so I would say, okay, what am I afraid of? Am I afraid of failure or success or both? Am I afraid of losing people's love? And I got down to what I call foundational fears, that if you siphon any behavior at all, it can all be siphoned down into these big foundational fears that people have. Things like fear of not belonging and fear of not being worthy or deserving, of love or anything good, fear of rejection or abandonment, big fears. So when I made the connection between those fears and my dad leaving and thinking, oh my God, of course I'm afraid of losing people's love. It was really painful for me as a child to realize or to think that my dad took his love away when he left. And so it was making that connection for me that was a really powerful moment. And think something that I want to just stress to your listeners, that even if it doesn't look like a huge trauma, that it's likely that there's something there. And it could be as simple as being ignored by your parents. Maybe they had to work 2 or 3 jobs to make ends meet. And so you were alone a lot. That
Yeah, your
can
needs weren't
be,
being met. Yeah,
yeah, even if your parents are great, there's still a source of trauma there when you're being left alone all the time. Or if
I
you
agree.
have an angry parent or a sibling and you walk on eggshells all the time because you're nervous around them, that doesn't have to manifest into a big T trauma. But if it happens over an extended period of time, that can create a, a way of thinking about yourself, a way of thinking about the world that can follow you for decades. And that's when it becomes really complex and a little bit harder to dislodge. And the truth is, it's relatively easy to neutralize a big T trauma because it's usually a one off or it happens a handful of times. But when it
Right.
happens consistently over a long period of time, then it becomes a little bit harder to work through. So,
It can be eroding to your spirit. Yeah.
yes, yeah, and it takes a while to get that back. But when I say a while, that's still EFT time. It's weeks or months as opposed to years of traditional cognitive therapy.
That's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah.
All right. You probably won't like my next question, and I'm sorry. It's bugging me to ask you.
Okay.
It keeps popping up. So you mentioned to me that you don't have a book. And
Right.
and I know you, did you say yet?
I said I don't have a book.
Okay. All
Yes.
right. And I'm not gonna bully you into writing one, but I just have to say, yes, the app is gonna tell the story of what you believe is important in healing. But unless you have a lot of videos sh sharing your story or your beginning, I just think like a book would just be such a beautiful way to help you even sell more of these apps. And I think your story is just really important to share. And one of the reasons why I think that is because I believe there's a lot of people walking around that don't believe they have trauma when they
Yeah.
do. And not only do they not believe they have trauma, but they feel like they're pretty defective, that there's something blatantly wrong with them,
Yeah.
and or that they're bad or can't do shit. Well, that's why I just want to plant that seed. I'm sorry.
No apology necessary. In fact, I was just talking with somebody on my team about it, and she was looking at just even the simplest EFT books out there, and she was talking about how inadequate they are.
Exactly. I think I have
Inadequate.
all of the. I have. I either have all the EFT books or most. I shouldn't say all because I think there's new ones coming out all the time written by people that maybe shouldn't write books. That's so mean. How'd you let me say such a mean thing? Some are just better than others, but yes, I would agree that most of them are not going deep enough, are not really considering the impact of trauma on the mind, body, spirit, our energy,
Yeah.
relationships. Trauma can impact every area of our life. So the more tools we have to
Yeah.
heal, the better.
I couldn't agree more. And you're not the first person that has said that to me recently. So I'm taking it. I'm taking it in. And I'm contemplating the idea more and more.
Awesome. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yay. And I would happy to be what's called an ARC reader, an advanced reader. Happy to write you a review, like whatever I can do to support.
Oh, thank
Okay.
you. I appreciate that. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
So
Do
tell
your
us a little.
listeners know how EFT works?
That's exactly what I was going to go
Oh,
to.
good.
We have had a few people do some demonstrations. So I would love, it doesn't have to be super lengthy, but I would love to have your spin on it. A little demonstration with your kind of spin where people could see how it could go a little deeper. Is that possible for you to do for us?
Oh, sure. Okay. So I'm going to go through the points that I use really quick, just because all EFT coaches use different points. None of them are wrong or less effective. These are just the points that I learned with and I follow.
Okay,
So,
before you do that, anybody listening to this podcast, I want you to go to the YouTube link so you can actually see what Amy is doing. Seeing sometimes is a little easier to follow than the audio. So there's that. Go ahead, Amy.
okay. So the first point, as you can imagine, is called the karate chop point, which is just down from the pinky finger on the side of your hand. Some people like to tap that spot. I tap those spots together because I like tapping on both sides of my body. And then at this point, this is where we say what's called a setup phrase, where we say something like, even though there is a part of me that feels like there's something wrong with me, I love and honor all my thoughts and feelings about this. And then we say that 3 times or some variation of it 3 times. And then we start going through the other points, saying what's called repeater phrases. So we'll start at the eyebrow point, which is right at the beginning of your eyebrows, and then go to the side of the eye at your temple, under your eye, on your cheekbones, under your nose, under your mouth. And then the collarbone point, if you find the beginning of your collarbone, you're going to go down about an inch. There's a little valley in between your ribs and your collarbone on either side of your sternum. Want to tap on those spots. And then under your arms, you can tap one side or the other, right where your bra strap is, or I tend to hug myself. Give a little self-love there too. And then ribs just below, like maybe 2 to 3 inches below your nipple on your ribs. And then on your wrist, there's 3 different spots. There's one on the outside, middle, and outside. So when I'm tapping my wrists together, I'm turning my wrists a little bit. Or you can do it this way and tap with your fingers. And then the last one is up on top of your head. Okay, so we'll do a little sample and we'll focus on, what did I say? Something being wrong with me? Is that what I said? Okay.
You did. I wanted to share 2 of those points were new for me.
Oh, which ones?
The ribs
Ribs, yeah.
and then the wrist.
They
All the other ones I'm very familiar with.
often don't use the ribbed one because I have to say nipple or boobs underneath your boobs. So it's just an awkward one to explain. I assume that's why people avoid it.
I'm working on my energy certification, and I had to say the word nipple this morning with an energy my practice client for my certification,
Yeah.
and I laughed. And so I have a cure for us. We have to say nipple 50 times out loud later. Not right now.
Oh, nice. I will do it.
It'll cure that.
Okay, so we'll start tapping on your karate chop point and just repeat after me. I should tell your listeners, we take a rating before we start this. Try and really get in touch with the feelings of not being good enough and see how true is that on a scale from 0 to 10. So maybe you're like an 8 or 9, depending on where you are in your healing journey. And then we start tapping. Say, even though there's a big part of me that feels like there's something wrong with me. And then you say those words, and then you say, and I love and honor all my thoughts and feelings about this. Even though for whatever reason or for a million reasons, I feel like I have so many character defects. I want to love and honor all parts of who I am anyway. Even though I really feel like there's something wrong with me. And maybe it has to do with what was going on around me in my childhood. And I love and honor myself anyway, and I honor my courage in tackling this issue. Then you start with the repeater phrases, tapping through all the rest of the points. You can say, there's something wrong with me. And move to the next spot on the side of your eye. I have so many character defects. I don't know why I think and feel this way. It feels really embarrassing when I watch my own behavior. There's a part of me that thinks I should be better than this. And I don't understand why I'm not. Maybe it has something to do with what was going on in my environment when I was a kid. I was highly influenced by my caregivers and the people around me. And maybe I received the message that something was wrong, either through their actions or their words. It doesn't have to be intentional, but my little mind decided that they were right, that there was something wrong with me. And then it developed deeper roots from there. I became really fearful that it was true. And that if people found out who I really was, they would leave me. So I did everything in my power to be different, to be better. And I abandoned myself along the way. So it's no wonder I'm struggling now. It's no wonder I feel like I don't know who I am. And it's no wonder I'm struggling with this disempowering behavior. And I want to deeply honor all my thoughts and feelings about this. And I want to be open and willing to see and feel the truth. That I am an inherently good human being who responded to a less than ideal situation because I didn't have all the information. I couldn't see things from anybody else's perspective but my own. And I was just a kid that was really desperate to do things right and get love. So maybe I'm not as defective as I think. Maybe I just created a strategy that didn't work for me. And now that I can see it clearly, I can work on healing it. And I deeply honor how hard this has been. And I want to be open and willing to let it go. Let go of this old way of thinking about myself that has not served me in any way. I want to release it from every cell in my body, from every fiber of my being, and all aspects of who I am. Okay, take a nice deep breath. And then when we're in this blissful state of having just tapped, we can take another rating. See where you are, how true it feels on a scale from 0 to 10 about whether or not there truly is something wrong with you. And then depending on where you are in your numbers, you can go again. It's not likely that you would get down to a 0 in one tapping round. I just want to tell your listeners that right off the bat. Something
We
like
like to,
a deep fear like that will often take a little bit more work.
yeah, we like
So,
to be reasonable with our expectations, but have the dream.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Have the hope that it is possible, because it is truly.
It is
And
true.
I want to just highlight too that everybody's going to heal in layers. Like if you spend hours in one session or do a couple weeks session like I did, just on that tapping alone, you could zero yourself out. And then it will create more space in your life for you to grow into. And when you do start growing into that, and there's a part of you that wants to grow a little bit more, you're going to bump up against those boundaries again. And that same old belief will come up again. It's not that the work that you did before didn't work, but it just released the first layer, the first most important layer. And now there's another layer that needs to be released so that you can expand even more into your life. When your expectations become bigger for yourself, and you want to explore what you are actually capable of and expand outside of your comfort zone even more, you will have to do that same work again. It happens in layers. And it's not that you didn't do it effectively the first time around. It's just that it needs more work, and that will continue happening in your life. So just have that expectation too. I want to set that there so that
Yeah.
people don't get
And it's okay.
discouraged. Yeah.
Yes. I love that you're saying we heal in layers. I love it. that you're saying it takes more than one time. And I also would say use this in conjunction with other tools that you're using, like meditation, going to therapy
Absolutely.
for doing the movement, the somatic movement. Like when we combine the healing energy of all the different tools, we can see really quantum leaps in our healing.
Oh, Karen, you are speaking my language right there. Believe so strongly in a comprehensive approach. EFT is really great for addressing our emotional body, but we are also spiritual bodies and we are intellectual bodies and physical bodies. And each one of those things needs to be addressed for wellness. I think that EFT is making such strides because in our history, we have not really honored the emotional body in the way that it needed it. And it is really only in the last few decades that we have really started to honor our emotions and figure out that we actually need to process them and move through them in order for them to be released from our body.
Yeah.
So it maybe tapping is going to be extra beneficial for a lot of people, but still the somatic work and the spiritual work with meditation is so vital and it will assist you in all manner of healing in different areas. So, yes, preach.
Yeah. Also, too, EFT is working with our energy. We're
Mm.
tapping our acupuncture points, so that helping releasing trapped energy. At least this is what I believe in our
Mhm.
body. Do you share that belief as well?
Absolutely. I think that because we have not been taught how to process our emotions, that they are stored in our bodies. And
Yes.
it's only when we do the tapping and honor and acknowledge those emotions over and over again, let them have their day in court, that they actually
Yes.
release from our body. It's really important to do that. Otherwise, over time, it just continues to trigger us and continues to put our bodies in a state of stress, which degrades us physically and emotionally and spiritually and will cause more problems later on. So it has to be released. Yeah.
I often get the compliments. People will say to me, Karen, your voice is so soothing. And I have to say, I met my soul sister because your voice is also very soothing.
Oh, thank
When
you.
you go in, it's really soothing. Yeah,
Oh,
it
thank you.
it would be so terrible if you had a really sharp, edgy voice. So your voice and your cadence is really beautiful. You didn't go too slow, you didn't go too fast. It had a rhythm to it. It was gentle. It was really beautiful.
One
You're
of the
good at
things,
this.
thank you, thank you. One of the things I really tried to do with the scripts that I was recording to was infuse some emotion into the words instead of having it be robotic, which is something that I've noticed on some of the other
Yes.
apps. And it helped me get to access the emotion around it a little bit more. And so I'm hoping that helps listeners too, because that was a really big, I tripped over it a lot. Those robotic words, I tripped over it. Like, how can you say that with no feeling? Like, those are really feeling words and they
Right.
even deserve having some emotion behind it. So, anyway, that was
Yeah,
an
excellent point.
aside. Yeah.
And I just have one little weird thing to share because there's a lot of me to love still. I'm working on my slim down program. When I'm doing the bra strap tapping, my hand went across my nipple and I had to chuckle. I like I had to tell her.
I love it. Yep.
Yeah, we have to get it shows just like how entrenched our training is on how some
Oh,
parts of our
yeah.
body we just are even in our field of therapy, it's hard to sometimes talk about parts of our body and we really have to embrace them too because they have trapped emotions too. All of our body has trapped stuff in it. And so talking about it, naming it, dealing with it, healing it, all that. I know there's a better way to say that, and it left me, but you got what I'm saying.
I totally get what you're saying. And it really is just a process of owning instead of denying or suppressing. I'm all about kind of surrendering to what is. This is our body. This is
Mhm.
everybody's got them. And let's
Yeah.
just put it out there.
So we had to wrap up because of time, but
Okay.
is there any final words of wisdom you have? Let's say somebody's listening today and they're having a shit day, like things are not going right. Do you have any beautiful, hopeful suggestions or wisdom for them?
I just want to tell them that emotions can be their friend, even if it's an uncomfortable emotion. Studies have shown that if you really lean into feeling something, not just thinking about it, not just dissecting it with your thought process, but really feeling it in your body, that the emotion will leave in less than 90 seconds. 90
Yeah.
seconds is nothing. It's nothing. If we have the courage to lean into uncomfortable emotions like hurt or sadness or grief or even fear, whatever the fear is, it can dissipate really quickly. And if you're doing it in conjunction with tapping and telling your body that it's okay to feel safe and calm about this emotion, it is really such a gentle way to experience our emotions and allow ourselves to move through them. And that's when they truly leave us, is when we move through them. So I'm not about slapping like just positive words on a shitty situation. I really want to acknowledge and lean in, and there is a lot to be gained from doing that. Even if it feels counterintuitive, there is a lot to be gained from doing that.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Amy, so much for being a beautiful guest on our show today.
Oh, thank you for having me, Karen. I really loved our conversation today.
Thank you for listening in today. Please join us next week, same day and time. Also, I would love for you to check out my website, healthrivedream.com.